This is Before the Build. I'm your host, Jake Fabish. This week, I had the honor of sitting down with Gant Jones of Jones Design A&P. This conversation is an important one, not just because Gant represents 3 generations of local building, architecture, and land development, but also because Gant is currently helping lead development for the Clore Station community located in Oldham County. In the next hour, you are going to hear about 200 years of family history, the impact of AI and drones on new urban development, and Gant's personal journey. Enjoy, and if you have not yet subscribed and followed us, please do. I always like to start to kind of give people an idea of what you're into on a day-to-day basis. So what's one thing that you're currently focused on this week? Like, what's a big push for you this week?
Well, thanks for having me out here. Yeah. This week, every week's something different. But this week, I've been fielding a lot of calls and contacts about the Clore Station project.
Okay.
A lot of people, we posted the Builders Guild list, and for some reason that just, everybody came out of the woodwork on that. And so that's been keeping me busy. I'm also putting together our Architects Guild.
Okay.
We've got about 5 architects that are out of town that did our original charrette, architecture charrette.
Yeah.
And they're going to be part of that. And now we're trying to field a couple local guys too. So I've been contacting some local guys.
So you're doing dual lists. You're going to have a list of builders and a list of architects?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's very critical. The builders will be solid throughout. Mm-hmm. The architects, we will probably have some flexibility in the future about allowing other architects into it. But for now, we want a handful of architects that are clearly aware of what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially those guys that came through our architecture charrette.
Uh-huh.
They know what we're trying to do architecturally.
Yeah.
And that'll help guide, especially in this first phase, how everything goes into the future.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So how did you find these architects?
So by recommendation from, so we had our planning charrette back in 2019 was with DPZ. They brought in a couple architects to assist in that. So one of the architects we hired as our town architect. The town architect, then he put together the architects for the architecture charrette.
Okay. So it's kind of his architects, and then you're going to add a few local guys.
Architects that he works with.
Yeah,
they're all pretty much single practitioning architects, or they have a very tiny office.
Okay.
And they're all over the U.S.
Really?
So they are very astute in doing traditional neighborhood design and architecture. But they're really talented at the same time.
So are you leaning into like traditional architecture? That's kind of the driving design force behind this?
Really, our launching point aesthetically came from our German heritage.
Okay.
So my family came over in the 1700s from the border of France and Germany in a town called Jemingen.
Okay.
And we have some images of that town that kind of said, hey, we like this European look a little bit.
Okay.
But let's not get kitschy with it.
Yeah,
so let's try to, our architecture style that we're coming into this, has more of a European feel to it. So and not farm country, right?
Yeah.
So we are pushing brick and stone and not lap siding.
Okay.
So and so for architecturally, you're kind of looking at the Tudor kind of style or colonial minimalism kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
As you were developing that, did you have to like push back on the architects, or did the architects just naturally like get your vision and run with it?
We, it was kind of like, it was about throwing a bunch of ideas out there. And then before we kind of steered it and kind of got it going in a direction. So we kind of have, our architectural standards, I would say, is fairly organic. And what we're trying to do, because the rules aren't, it's not a big set of rules. It's like 3 pages.
Okay. And
then we're compiling some precedent images of existing structures, say, hey, we like this. This is kind of the style we're looking for. And by using the architects that are familiar with what we're trying to do, that'll help kind of steer it forward without getting too far in the weeds of specifying exact details and all that stuff.
Yeah. So you guys going to come up with a book of exact approved home plans, or is it going to be like as long as they fit the standard, then they can come?
Yeah, we're doing images, and then every home will be custom designed.
Okay.
And of course, the lot dimensions are, they're like 36 by 100 or 40 by 80, and that's pretty much your lot you're working with. So that really confines you to a specific dimension of a house
Right.
consistently. So you can imagine that there's only so many floor plans that kind of work for that situation. Now, there is a lot of variety that you can develop out of that. But at a certain point, you're going to have these really floor plans that you like a lot that you're just refacading to look different from the exterior.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot kind of determining factor.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's all custom.
Okay. Yeah. So you're a licensed architect yourself. I think when we met earlier, you had talked about that always kind of been the plan.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, my dad was a builder and developer. And I worked on job sites all the time for different trades.
Yeah.
And I realized in high school I wanted to go into architecture. And really what was compelling me that way, because I was just I'd never satisfied on what I saw in the suburban environment. I think I was like, we can do this better. And then so as I got into architecture school, going through that, I realized that what we had on our property and what we were going to do in the future, I started preparing myself of thoughts of being involved in that sometime down the road.
Okay.
So then I went and got my master's in architecture and urban design.
Okay.
And then with the thought of coming back and participating in doing this whole project.
Okay. So you were aware of this Clore project even as early as high school.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've had plans of developing this property since the highway exit came in.
Wow.
And dropped it right in the middle of the farm.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it just changes the dynamic of what it could be.
Right.
And so my grandfather, he was kind of one of the first developers in Oldham County. And he was a big time entrepreneur. He was really good at what he did, and he saw that was going to be the case. And from him, my uncle, and my dad, they've put forth the effort to do things to the property to help it in the future for its development.
Okay.
So that means like they got incorporated into Crestwood. They kind of filled in some big holes out there. They got sewers onto the property.
Okay.
And that kind of prepped it for future development. So in 2019, we realized that, we need to start moving forward with the planning.
Yeah.
And so we hired DPZ to help us with that.
And how long had you been out of school in 2019?
I graduated from Harvard in 2006.
Okay.
I got my master's. I stayed in Boston for a year, and then came back in 2007.
Okay.
When the economy was tanked. Couldn't get a job, so I just started working on my own.
Okay.
And basically what I do on my own is mostly renovation addition projects, but a lot of new construction homes and some commercial fit out.
Okay.
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was all of your schooling at Harvard, or did you do?
No, I went to UK.
There? Okay, UK
undergrad,
first.
and then I went to Harvard for my master's.
Okay. And how'd you like Harvard?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved Boston. It was intense. It was way more intense than, every step's more intense, right? It was a lot more intense.
Yeah.
A lot more competitive than UK because of the talent that was there, and trained talent.
Yeah.
A lot of it was inspiring. It was really a great experience.
Yeah. I imagine probably a lot more international pull.
Oh yeah.
Harvard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But they're really, it's really balanced. You got a lot of from around the States, people from everywhere, and then all, Asia and Europe. And a lot of people from the Caribbean and Puerto Rico were
really
there. Yeah.
Okay.
In the urban design program.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. They came up from Miami, and I think that's where Dwani with DPZ, their offices, and I think they got a lot of education from DPZ at the University of Miami when they came up.
Okay.
But there's one UK student that was at Harvard when I was there too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Do you find that the Boston architectural style is actually similar to what you guys are trying to do in Oldham? It seems kind of clear.
Man, yeah, I feel like it could be.
Yeah.
But we'll see where it goes. I really want to influence that. Yes, we'll have some traditional themes, but I want to have more of a fresh approach to it too.
Yeah.
So, how do we kind of bring it up? Although Boston, if you ever go to Boston, walking around the streets and it's just, if we get anything close to that, I'd be very happy.
Yeah. That's super cool. So what was you said you were in Boston for about a year. What was that experience like?
Oh, I was after. The grad school, the program was 2 years. And I stayed for another year, worked at Chan Krieger.
Okay.
They're an architecture and planning firm. And that was really cool experience working with them. We were working on international projects all over. Did the Shanghai Bund and Detroit's riverfront, those projects.
Okay.
And then just living in Boston, everything was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it. So I've lived in Los Angeles, Chicago, and Boston. Of the three, I really enjoy Boston the most.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't mind the
Yeah,
winters.
but each one has its own flavor. That you can appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Boston's the one I haven't been to. I grew up in Peoria, Illinois, so I was just south of Chicago.
Okay.
So Chicago was like our getaway. We'd go up there and hang out. That's a cool town up there.
Yeah, my wife's from Chicago.
Okay.
That's how I ended up there for a year.
Okay.
With her. Before
Okay.
Going to Boston.
Was that after Harvard or?
No. So undergrad, I went to Los Angeles, worked out there for a couple of years.
Okay.
Met my wife. We started dating, and she was in Chicago. So I said, I'm going to go to grad school, start applying to grad schools. I'll go to Chicago for a year, start applying for grad schools, and wherever I end up, I'm going to go from there to the grad school.
Okay.
And she followed me to Boston after that.
So how many years were you kind of on that exodus away from Kentucky and then back? What was that?
I graduated in 2001, and I got back in 2007.
Okay.
Yeah,
So like 6 years?
Yeah, 6 years. Yeah.
Okay. So you show back up in Kentucky and there's no work?
No work.
No work.
The economy had tanked.
Yeah.
Architects were trying to find work.
Yeah.
So I just I was able to work for Chan Krieger remotely, working for I think it's a Downtown Development Corporation, of doing some planning studies of, bringing people to the streets in downtown, how they could change facades and stuff. We did a study. So I was able to work remotely here for about 6 months. And then I started getting some contacts here and started working for, different people doing different residential projects and such. Yeah.
And when you kind of started to find some traction, was that like through other architects kind of feeding you work they couldn't do, or was that directly to homeowners? Or
It was contractors and just word of mouth.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I work primarily with general contractors.
Okay. Okay.
Home builders and stuff.
Did you find, it sounds like you'd done kind of like a lot more of the urban side of development and that kind of thing before you started working with residential contractors here?
As far as planning, it was more urban, larger scale commercial.
Yeah.
But I was what I didn't like about my situations was very seldom was I working on the construction drawing side of things. I was always doing all the schematic into DD, and I never really got the experience of doing the construction drawings, but only on a couple projects.
Really?
And that really set me behind when I started going out on my own, I think. So I kind of had to learn how to develop my own drawing sets and everything along those lines. Yeah.
Up to that time, it kind of been kind of bigger strokes.
Yes,
and then going from there down to the construction details.
It's interesting. When we were working on the Shanghai Bund project, we did this kind of, at the time SketchUp was just coming out, so we started utilizing that. And we kind of just did a model and mocked it up and kind of got him some drawings, just kind of schematically. They took that and started doing construction with it. And it's just like, whoa.
Right? What are you building?
right. Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah. So what was their plan? Like they're just going to wing it, or like?
I guess, or I don't know. I mean, I was working on that. I left, so I don't know where it went to, but I just remember they're kind of,
There's a lot of questions between the concept and SketchUp and the construction.
But I guess they had it all figured out.
So you started doing residential, and then what was that kind of ramp up like? Was it was it a big push for you, or were you kind of had so many different things in the fire at the same time? It's just you were kind of remote working and also taking on a side project with a contractor?
Remote working, those first couple of years I was here, there was not much work going on at all, just trying to find it. But it's like, I picked up pace. So it was kind of remote working for that first 6 months before I started getting jobs here and there, but it was tiny. But I also I started other businesses. So I'd start a boat and RV storage business.
Okay.
So financially I was okay. I didn't have to stress out about that.
That's great.
Designs, it allowed me to kind of develop the design side of it.
Yeah. So how many years were you doing that residential small practice before your family started taking up more of your time and you started building that out in 2019?
Well, I'm still, majority of my time is doing kind of the residential and drawings and architecture.
Okay.
And I'm just splitting time working on the development side of it.
Okay.
The thing about it, the team is my brother, my uncle's husband, Bill Ramsey, my brother Clay Jones, my wife Sarah. She is a landscape architect.
Awesome.
Miller Ramsey's my cousin's Bill Ramsey's son, and we all kind of divide the work up evenly. And And because we have to do our day jobs too.
Okay.
Otherwise, we don't survive. Because this development we've been working on since 2019 with the planning and contracts and everything else, and it's all money going out. There's no money coming in to support anything. So hopefully here, when we start selling lots this summer, we finally got some money coming in.
Yeah. I mean, 2019 to now, that's a big chunk of time.
Yeah. And so, So once we get that money coming, that's great. But unfortunately, that money we need to put towards the second phase. So we're not taking any, it's just kind of you just roll it. So residential development, the way we've always traditionally done it, is you really don't make money until you're kind of 2/3 of the way through.
Okay. Kind of almost at the exit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That won't be the case in this. We'll have to take out money because it's such a long project. But for the most part, we're just rolling the money back in.
Okay. So in 2019, did you kind of understand that time frame?
Well, so we... David Tomes and Charles Osborne, they're developers at Norton Commons, and we talked to them about kind of the project and whatever, and they mentioned how long it took them before they started breaking ground. It took them 7 years. Well, we're like, it should be faster for us, but no, it's 7 years. It took us 7 years to get here before we finally broke ground.
Wow.
Now, part of that, there's at least 2-year delay on negotiations with the hospital.
Okay.
Because when Baptist Hospital came along, it kind of threw us for a loop. We're like, whoa, we weren't thinking anything at that scale. And one thing I'm starting to realize is that, us Oldham Countyans, I think we undervalue what we have, and that there are opportunities out there for bigger things like Baptist Hospital wanting to move out and be part of your project or things like that.
Okay.
So it's something we had to figure out. Well, we don't want to deny them, but how do we get them to work with what we're trying to do?
Yeah.
Because we're looking more out of a walkable community that's more quaint and more tangible rather than some big institutional complex coming in. So we thought that was very, very disruptive. Luckily, we have, it's 3 corners of a highway exit, and we could take the whole campus and put that on one corner.
Really?
While the town center could be on the other side of the highway. Okay. And so the intrusion wasn't there by the 2 different types of uses, but you get the benefit of the jobs and all the experience and going in there and being connected to it in that way as an anchor.
Yeah. So how did that connection happen between you guys and Baptist?
The crazy thing is Baptist was looking for another location, I think, somewhere closer to town from LaGrange. Their head guy of kind of their property management used to work for my dad.
Really?
And so he lives right next to where we're doing this project.
Okay.
So he saw us doing this, and they put 2 and 2 together, and they Baptist decided, this might make a lot of sense. And they came up, started talking to us.
Okay.
And so that, it worked out. And then, a few years later, after the charrette, Jason Radford, he was the superintendent at Oldham County. Are you familiar with Oldham County Arts Center?
Yes, I live near there.
Okay, yeah. So the Art Center, it's an old church, and it's all broken up.
Oh, yeah. It's like a maze.
And there's no way it's to code. As far as emergency egress out of there, people are, if it gets caught on fire, they're going to get lost trying to get out.
I would be lost.
So he came up and he said, we're looking for a new site or building a new art center. We're either going to tear down the existing one and build on that site, or we're going to try to find another site. And he approached us and said, would you guys be interested in putting the art center in your all's project?
Wow.
And we were like, well, yeah, without kind of thinking about this. So we allowed ourselves to digest that for a while. In our town center, we always had a grocery store located.
Okay.
But we were having difficult times getting a grocery store to commit to what we are trying to do. When a grocery store sees raw ground, they feel like we want max flexibility of getting the trucks in and the huge parking lot, asphalt all the way, to the front.
Yeah.
And that kind of that didn't work with our zoning or what we're trying to achieve. But the Art Center came along, and they were committed into following our guidelines. And they bring as an anchor, like a grocery store, with the amount of people coming in and out for different classes throughout the day and during the night. Yeah. And it brings, I really do like it, a culture to the development. It kind of really influences what's going on around it in a positive way. Yeah. So what we've done is they're a central feature. We're donating property, 4 acres, and the nicest property we have in the development. And the back of, it's front on the side that fronts the plaza. the plaza is going to bleed down to the back of the structure to an amphitheater. So the amphitheater will be tied into the plaza itself, and you'll have buildings that anchor on each side of the amphitheater, and you can have restaurants right there overlooking it. And so, we're really excited about that.
Super cool. Yeah.
Haven't officially gone public with that, like published it or anything, but it's moving forward.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's like that's a lot of infrastructure. You got a hospital going on, an art center, the grocery store, and then all the residences.
Yeah.
It seems like a wide spectrum of infrastructure needs.
It is. And so we're putting in the infrastructure right now. Luckily, the hospital infrastructure over there is mostly all installed already.
Okay.
They bought the land, so they're going to have to develop their own area of land. We're just retaining 7 acres, so we don't have to worry about developing their property.
Okay.
But with the art center and everything in town center, we are doing that. So yes, infrastructure is going in. It's especially in this first phase, trying to get some electric in and all that has been pretty daunting.
Yeah.
It's a beast.
Yeah. So take me back to the original, like, around the table conversation. You guys are, as a family, are developing guidelines. Like, where do you even start on that conversation as you think together? Like, we own this land, we have this vision. Where do you start with guidelines?
So the property has had several iterations of master plans. Like in the 80s and 90s, a couple bubble diagram master plans were done.
Yeah.
But it was never really well done. It was kind of, you look at it, it looks typical.
Yeah.
And we had a apartment developer come over and wanted to buy some property and put an apartment complex. And we're like, okay, we'll sell you 10 acres back there by the cell phone tower. And you can put it all around that cell phone tower because we don't.
Yeah.
And they took the bait and they bought the property. I'm like, oh, we can't do that again.
Oh, man.
We need to finally take off and start planning.
Yeah.
And so we started inquiring with some planners around for proposals, and decided to go with DPZ.
Okay.
And then that kind of their knowledge of doing these projects all the time has been priceless, because it led us in directions of finding the right lawyer to hire to set up our restrictions, our homeowners restrictions, and our residential and non-residential declarations. They guided us to a group that's called the National Town Builders Association.
Okay.
So it's a developers group that do similar types of developments around the U.S.
Okay.
And they have a conference twice a year, which has been eye-opening and very great.
Yeah.
So DPZ has really been very helpful in informing us and guiding us through this process. And really, David Tomes, he's the one who kind of kicked that off and helped us develop that relationship with DPZ. Okay.
Yeah. So as you were looking at different options for choosing which kind of development firm you want to work with, what were the ones that you decided not to move forward with, and what stood out about DPZ that was different?
Well, one is DPZ's experience. The couple others, they're just a different spectrum of what they did and how they did it.
Yeah.
And I think DPZ they were clearly the highest priced proposal, but we realized everything that they brought.
Yeah.
So I think once we got past the price tag, we realized we got to go with them.
Yeah. And then it was called the Town Home Builders Group.
National Town
Builders
Association.
I'd love to hear kind of like what's the surprise thing that being a part of that group has helped you guys realize that you wouldn't have without having the access to that group.
Just the different facets.
Yeah.
I mean, when these developments, there's, you can talk about the governance documents or the zoning code, or then you get down to the architecture and how they do that, or how they do the planning, or how they handle their real estate, commercial, or are they selling? Everybody has a different approach to it, but all of them have the same goals and aspirations of what they want to do with the development. Okay. These are developers that are not just developing for the profit.
Yeah.
They're developing to develop the community.
Yeah.
And that's the sense that what we're trying to achieve too.
Yeah.
And so they look at things and those that are involved just in a different lens that isn't bottom line.
Yeah.
And it's refreshing and it's really eye opening on how they, how they handle things.
Yeah. No, that's super cool. I'm actually going to pull this up. I was watching your video and you said this line, this isn't based on chasing a recreation of the past. It's not based on utility. It's based on design. I thought that was super cool. Super cool mindset to have. That this isn't just about. It's not a recreation of Mayberry.
Right.
We're not just trying to stamp Mayberry back in Oldham County. And it's not just about utility. It's not just about what works.
Right.
But it's about building a life experience.
Right. And that's kind of like, for me, the big word is community. And I really wanted to emphasize that. There's words that define this type of planning, tradition, and I really, and new urbanism. Those types of terms sometimes bother me because the tradition, I think, it kind of thinks, well, they're just trying to do something that's nostalgic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. The really tradition kind of reflects back into what works, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we're trying to do something like Mayberry, right?
Yeah.
And then of course, new urbanism. People get caught up in new urbanism and what all that means. But for me, new urbanism is just good planning. That's just what it is.
Yeah,
it's just planning.
Yeah.
And so this project, yes, we want to rely on the traditions of design because it's successful.
Yeah.
It accomplishes a lot, both fundamentally, functionally, but aesthetically too. But then how can we do that in more fresh ways?
Yeah.
So we're trying to achieve that. And then, with this project, you have the architecture, you have the planning, and I think the key component about this is the community itself and how you establish the community in ways of the planning, of the programming, and those different facets too.
Yeah. I can tell that this piece of land is more than just a piece of land. It's like part of your family legacy.
Yes.
Why is community, the word community, the idea of community so important to you guys? Because you guys are kind of forcing yourself to kind of like get stretched, maybe thinner than what you would in other development opportunities.
Yes.
You're kind of forcing yourself to bear up under a burden that's maybe bigger than if you just, did dollars and cents.
Yes.
You just went to the market and, running numbers. So what is it about community for your family?
Well, working on this project, because this has been in our family since 1808, this is a very important piece of property to us.
Yeah.
If we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. Because when we get done, we don't want to look back and say, "Oh, that's just a strip center now," and have regret about that. What we've contributed back to the community that we've been with since day one, basically.
Yeah.
So we said we wanted to really push everything, and this is 10 times more effort than we have for anything before. And it's just become. Not just a job, but a part of life. At one point that was our livelihood, farming. That's how we lived on that property. In a way, we are still farming, but just in a different way. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we intend to keep any income producing property in perpetuity for future generations to kind of live off of and participate in the development going forward too.
Yeah. I just think that's so important. We just need more space for human connection. Like we need to rethink the way that we build and connect each other in a neighborhood sense, in a community sense.
Right.
So I love that you guys are willing to kind of like stay the course on that.
Yeah.
In your guys' family conversation, I feel like any project that has this duration on it is likely to have like kind of project drift. What keeps pushing you guys back? Like, is there a personality in your family that's always like the hard liner, like we're not going to lose sight here, or is it just like a set of values that always kind of pulls you back to center?
I think we're all on the same, going in the same direction. But I think there could be some point down the road, some attrition about let's just get it done.
Yeah.
I think that happens with any large scale project to a certain degree.
Right.
Right now, everything is fresh and new, and we're still creating our governance documents.
Okay.
That it's like, it's all, focus, getting this to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I could see down the road us kind of like just getting exhausted, But I think I'm, for one, pushing for, this is going to cost more money, but it'll be well worth it because it will, it'll look better, it'll perform better.
Yeah.
Doing this versus doing whatever else.
Yeah.
As far as like, okay, well, here we want to have a nice stone laid retaining wall because it's part of the park system rather than some ready rock or concrete, wall.
Yeah.
We want something that's aesthetically and better done, but it will cost 3 times more to do it.
Right.
So how we keep pushing that and not giving up on those things.
Yeah.
That's, I think, going to be critical moving forward too.
Yeah. Well, a lot of respect for you guys. I mean, you've already stuck it out this far.
Yeah.
You mentioned phase 2, like is in the wings. How many phase project is involved in this project?
There's probably 9 phases.
Really?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's market driven.
Right.
It happens kind of organically. We have a master plan, but it's going to change as we kind of go through.
Yeah.
And you start getting into engineering, it's going to respond to that, and it's going to respond to market. This first phase, as far as the housing types, what people are shifting towards and what's selling the most, will influence how we do the future phases, right? So in the first phase, we have a lot of different housing types from single family, townhomes, mews, and multifamily mansion apartments, and mixed use and live work buildings.
Okay.
So based on what people are going to be buying, and this will kind of if it's townhomes, then we'll good because we've got a lot of townhomes in the future.
Yeah.
If it's no, it's all single family, well then we need to break those townhomes up and provide more single family.
Okay.
Ideally, I would like for this to be a dense project. We are a highway exit.
Right.
Density makes the most sense here. And we're part of a city.
Yeah.
So it can only help. The density can only help you far as suburban sprawl pressure, alleviate that because they're coming to this place and building a house on this smaller parcel versus going out further and building a house on a 1 acre lot.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's taking a lot of pressure off of urban sprawl, but at the same time, it's also, when you get this density, it also helps the commercial side of everything.
Okay.
So it helps your restaurants and helps influence the grocery store to finally come in.
Right.
Those things too.
Yeah. That is such like requires, I can't even imagine the amount of foresight and thinking ahead of, a 9 phase project. And then as you're saying, the need to stay flexible enough to evolve over that period of time. Yeah. That's like a lot of plates to spin.
Yeah. And so, that's interesting. When we did our original SHREP with DPZ, we were looking at the PUD rules and regulations for Oldham County. And Jim Urban was the head of zoning at the time. And he said, guys, why don't you just adopt the SMART code? And we'll write it in as a new classification for Crestwood zoning.
Okay.
And it's called a P&D. And so in doing that, we kind of established that, it's going to be based on the SMART code, but Jim Urban had enough foresight because we have a town architect, we'll have the master plan, but he was saying, as long as your density is not changing, you have flexibility to shift things around. And so, which is critical because looking at a 25-year project or a 30-year project, the market's going to change.
Oh, yeah.
And so when we get to different areas, we'll want to be able to adapt to what's going on then than what's going on now.
Yeah.
So he helped us with that to give us that flexibility to do in the future.
Okay. And what is the SMART code?
The SMART code is a form-based code that was developed by DPZ. It's like the zoning code that we have here is a Euclidean code. That's typical throughout the United States. It's based on separation of uses.
Okay.
So, over here you got commercial, over here you got residential, and in there you have levels of density of residential and commercial, but they're always separated. They're never mixed.
Yeah.
They can't. So, and it's the idea about that is to keep the nuisances of uses separated, so you don't have these unfortunate situations where there's residential mixed in with industrial that just doesn't work.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. But the SMART code being a form-based code, it allows a mix of uses.
Okay,
and it separates areas based on density.
Okay,
so they're called transects. And so your least dense is the natural. Okay. Then it goes to farm, and then it goes kind of the suburban densities into commercial and urban and heavy urban densities.
Okay.
And so that's what it's based on. So we have 3 transects in a special district.
Okay.
So we have a T5 zone, which is our town center, and allows for mixed use and certain uses in that densities that are more commercial and driven. And then you have the T4 zone, which is a denser residential area that has light commercial, maybe here and there, in-home commercial. It allows for that, but it's mostly just residential that's denser. Then we have T3 that is the least dense, that has no commercial, and then it has larger lots in there.
Okay. Okay.
So, and that becomes adaptable to our terrain too when you get into that T3 zone. And then the special district is the hospital district. Institutions and industrial areas are impossible to fit into a form-based zoning or the smart code. So they kind of separate them out so they can function as they need to function.
Okay.
Because the idea of the form-based code is it's more people-driven in planning and design than it is car-driven planning and design.
Okay.
When you look at industrial, that whole area is really driven by the trucks coming in and out.
Yeah.
When we look at the hospital, the ease of getting in and out of those situations in an emergency state, it really changes and deviates from what you would like to do with kind of these urban environments that the smart code is pushing.
Okay.
Or new urbanism is pushing.
Yeah. So, and what are the flexibility benefits of smart codes over your more standard local codes?
Well, so we can put commercial and residential in the same building.
Okay.
We can do mixed use buildings, which I think is critical. Your streets become more alive when people are walking out of the building because they live there.
Yeah.
And then walking down the street, you got a lot more fluid interaction. It feels like the city's pumping with, blood of people like living in that environment rather than driving to that environment,
right?
Getting out of the car, walking in the store, getting back in the car, and then driving back to their home in a cul-de-sac.
Right.
Here you're doing everything just stepping out of your house and walking down the street. And riding a bike and going to the store or your office or whatever that might be.
Yeah.
So
right now, as you look at phase 1, which you said houses could start getting built as early as the fall, what's the most exciting thing for you in phase 1?
Oh man, the way the streetscape starts to come together.
Okay.
Looking at the different housing styles and types that we've got going in, and how they're arranged in these different areas, and how those clusters of those areas start to gain identity. We see it in paper, but to see it physically there is going to be really cool.
Oh yeah.
So like our detention area is divided by one of the main roads coming through. So on the top portion was an old dried out pond that we're doing a playground adjacent to. So it's going to be kind of a wetland park feature.
Okay.
And below that's the detention area, which will be mostly just a wooded area with maybe some pathways going through it. But that circumscribes the whole thing is our mansion apartments.
Okay.
And our mansion apartments look like mansions, large homes.
Okay.
But they're like 4 flats or 6 flats or something like that you see in the Highlands.
Yeah.
So they'll circumscribe this whole open space experience. It'll be really cool to see what that's like. And then we have off of that is the Muse area, which is a cluster of muses, which, do you know what a muse is?
No.
Okay, so Muse is a London tradition of carriage houses.
Okay.
In alley situations. So they're like townhomes. They're just stacked together.
Okay.
But their footprint is based on a garage, essentially.
Okay.
So these are townhomes that are like 25 by 30.
Okay.
Based on the garage. And then you're living on the second and third floor.
You're just living above the garage.
It's trying to keep things at a more affordable price point.
Okay.
But what they front is a public alley condition.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just kind of a tight cluster of these homes with this kind of pedestrian public way that's in between them, and then there's an automobile alley behind it. Yeah.
Okay.
But that kind of that pathway kind of connects one park over to another street element, over to another park element. And just way things will start to come together. I'm really excited to see it. Yeah. Finally.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can even imagine how satisfying that would be.
Yeah.
Of the Jones family, what are currently kind of the oldest living elder statesmen of the family? You have your dad, your grandparents.
My grandfather, part of this property, passed away before I was born.
Okay.
And my grandmother, I got to know her really well.
Okay.
My mom, she's the last one on that side of of the children of my grandparents. My uncle passed away a few years back.
Okay.
And she's the statesperson right now.
Okay.
And then there's us. I've got 3 cousins on my uncle's side, and then my brother and sister on my side.
Okay.
That are all part of the project.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And are you looking forward to being an architect for some of these homes? Or are you just going to let that go?
I started doing the planning of this project maybe back in like 2012 or something.
Yeah.
Started dabbling in it.
Yeah.
And I thought I would be doing it.
Yeah.
Until I realized this is way more than I can handle.
Yeah.
And I said, we've got to pivot. So we decided to hire, and I'm glad we did. It's been a wealth of knowledge we've gotten out of it. Designing the homes in there, I don't know if I will or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of the same question as like, hey, are you going to live in there?
Yeah.
No. And too close to people knocking on my door saying,
Yeah, why'd you do this?
Yeah. This person hasn't put their trash can away yet. You need to go say something. No.
Yeah.
No.
You're like, don't let them know you're the landlord, right?
Right. Exactly.
You're just there to check it out.
Yeah. I'll probably look at maybe doing some homes out there, but I don't know. I might just leave it up to our architects to handle that and just do my own thing.
Yeah. So what is that like right now to transition? I mean, I can't imagine like how many different things there are to think about as you think about this development and then transition back to your day job of smaller, single home family renovation, very small project,
right?
Very, very localized, very specialized, as opposed to right now it seems like everything in the development world, you're thinking big strokes, community, density, codes, all that kind of stuff. How are you shifting gears back and forth?
It's nice to shift back just to something simple, right? Because a lot of this stuff with the development is new to me, and I'm learning on the fly to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So it's nice to go back to sitting at the desk and doing drawings.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just relaxing to me to do that. It doesn't stress me out the way. Well, it can stress me out, but the development side, there's just so many question marks, right?
Yeah.
And we're developing our own rules and systems for this specific project that we're not used to doing.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like for me, I'd probably liken it to the experience of, I was a carpenter by background before I started designing. And now for me to go back in the field, it's not as relaxing as I want it to be because there's always phone calls come in. And I enjoy woodworking. I enjoy working my hands. But like being able to isolate myself enough to enjoy it feels impossible now.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I really.
That's the truth. I mean, I wish you could shut the phone off and just do your work and just kind of, listen to some music and just go at it, right?
That's the dream.
Yeah, that's the dream. That is the dream. But it's very difficult to achieve that.
Yeah.
I'm lucky if I get, 3 hours of design time in a day.
Right. Oh, I imagine. Yeah.
So
how has kind of this community development informed your residential practice?
It's been really helpful, and I've learned a lot with the architects and kind of looking at their work and the way they do things. That's kind of influenced me to do better with my own work.
Oh, okay.
Rather than just trying to problem solve, maybe kind of considering the detail a little bit more thoroughly.
Yeah.
So it's been really helpful in that way.
Yeah. I imagine it's kind of like you're living in the big picture so much that to zoom back in, you're kind of bringing that information with you and forming that project in really helpful ways. What is like, if you could just do one thing kind of moving forward, would it be kind of staying in the broad strokes world, or do you feel like if you could do it, you'd go back into like letting other people run the big strokes and you just go back to doing?
I think the broad strokes are my kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think, I like architecture, but I really like those ideas of what Michelangelo used to do. He was the master builder, right?
Yeah.
He was not just the architect. He was the general contractor. One thing I've discovered of working on this project and kind of seeing this project in the future, I am really, really interested in community development, I guess, right? I don't know. I've been doing work for the city of Crestwood, and I really feel, great about being involved in whether it's creating space or place that connects in to influencing how better our community can be.
Yeah.
And then thinking about programming too.
Yeah.
Like, how do we make our environment a better place?
Right.
And that's what's, and it's not just design for me, it's all facets of that, from the development side to the ownership of that side to the design of that side. It's everything, and I want to be involved in it all.
Yeah, and I can definitely see how important that is. I think that maybe that's, I don't know, you can't speak for the country, but it feels like in construction, residential construction, we lost our way because we quit thinking community. And we thought project by project, we thought house by house, and everybody kind of like got theirs and moved on. And in that, what we ended up with is this environment of, Taco Bell, Main Street, that nobody wants to be around. Nobody feels human in that space. So I think I can only imagine good things coming out of stretching your brain to be like, my design needs to include community and not just this single plot of land kind of thing.
Well, I mean, design and planning has been driven by the automobile since, the 50s or whatever. And it's really influenced about everything, and it's completely lost the individual. What's interesting is to start to forecast what the future is going to be when automobile ownership may not be a thing anymore. It may be subscription automated based where you just push a button and the car comes to your house and picks you up and takes you wherever you need to go. People won't have cars. So the idea of having a garage or having these drive-throughs and all these different facets that are about the vehicle are possibly going to go away. All these parking lots may not be necessary. So that's one thing we've considered in this project. We've considered a lot of things forecasting the future. But the automobile and the idea that the automobile, and it may not be a thing in the future, that we're going to keep ownership of all the parking lots. Because at some point, that bit might be obsolete. We need to rethink about what that space is.
I gotcha.
Additionally, we have rules and restrictions about our air rights. Because about drone delivery and how that works too. So we have that in our restrictions, just trying to forecast what the future might be.
So how do you think about drones in the context of the community? In a world where there's no more, personal ownership of automobiles, drones become more valuable in that, like, if I don't have a car and I'm not going to go to the store, I need the store to come to me. You could see how drones would fill that void, but you can also see what a nuisance from a community standpoint. Nobody wants to walk to the store and getting buzzed by 15 Amazon drones on the way.
Our language, if I recall correctly, it's fairly loose, but it identifies it that we have the HOA or the founder, which is the developer, has the right to kind of write rules and restrictions about drones specifically, rather than not having anything at all. Because I don't know what the solution is until the problem starts to show what the problem is. But we have to identify that might be a big thing coming up. I mean, like you said, I could totally see a world where AI is headed, with the amount of remote work that we do, with the cost of automobiles. There's a lot of scenarios. I mean, the war in Iran right now. I mean, we have a lot of reasons to move. We're economically incentivized to move away from cars to something that doesn't require cars. But it seems like drones fill that gap. And I would imagine from a community planning standpoint, that's kind of a nightmare because, if every house on that block, my wife gets 3 Amazon deliveries a day. So what does that look like when it's all drones? Just drones.
You feel like you're in a war zone.
I don't know. It'll have to be, we'll have to think about what that is. I don't know. Because it could be like a serious thing, like every house getting 3 drones to it on a daily basis or whatever. All your groceries coming by drone, whatever that is. I don't know.
I've never owned a community, so I've never had to think
it's like you kind of think about that, like your house itself. Are we going to be starting to design delivery areas? Like, is that going to be, it's not just the porch in the back now, it's the drone delivery area.
Helipad on top.
Something like, we're really, seriously. It's like a roof piece where they drop stuff off and then there's a chute that brings it back into the house somewhere. That's going to be an interesting thing. What happens? And
like you said, with the lifespan of your project possibly being 25 years. I mean, there's just no telling what technology is going to look like in 25 years.
I know. It's crazy. Especially with the AI. I don't even know what that's going to do to us. I'm starting to feel like an old man. They keep telling me you need to start looking at that because it's going to affect our industry, I think.
I bet. All the development and planning.
Well, architects. Right? I think it could easily take over what we do.
Really?
I think it can.
How would you see, where do you see that happening first?
Well, I mean, just design. It's kind of like there's some software out there where you just have an elevation and it'll just render it for you, and to make it 3D. And then I've had clients, they just put, some text into AI. And it comes up with the design that they want. And they say, can you do drawings of this? I was like, I can.
No, I've run into that too.
It's like, it kind of scares me.
No, it's almost commonplace now. I feel like of my last 6 clients, probably 3 of them approached me with AI rendered drawings that they had come up with by themselves in their computer.
Yeah.
So I feel like for me, the thing that I'm trying to figure out how to navigate is you don't want to discourage the client's input, and you want to encourage their imagination and get them involved in what's best outcome for them. So, but at the same time, like many of the solutions provided aren't workable, aren't actually solutions, or like when I can think of a particular situation where they gave me the drawing, and I started trying to draw it, and I was like, "There's no way you can't do this." Unless you're just totally making it up. So.
Yeah. I've seen some of the inspiration photos they'll show me is like, and you're like, I think that's an AI photo because they took the valleys of two roofs and jammed them right into the middle. This just will not work. It's a dormer going to nowhere. It looks great, but that does not work.
So how are you navigating that conversation with them?
Well, I mean, you just kind of said, okay, I see the flavor you want. This is what you're going for. Now let's develop and make it actually work. And so, I mean, it's very helpful. When they bring more information to the table to design from.
So when you kind of focus in on your small practice, just your practice, what's your ideal kind of project? What do you really like to work on?
I'm kind of tired of doing porches. So it's nice
lots of porches.
Lots of porches. It's pool houses and porches. I mean, ever since COVID, it's been that.
Okay. Does that influence at all from your wife being a landscape architect? Is she connected with that at all?
No, she does more estate planning. Okay. Like, larger farms and stuff like that. And then she used to work for Mike Smiley with Environs, and they used to do a lot of the Metro Parks projects.
Oh, cool.
So that's more her thing. So we don't work together very often at all.
Okay.
Actually, I just, Josh Meyer? He's a landscape architect.
Okay.
I work with him, so I'm just talking to him today about some pool houses and porches. Exactly. But I enjoy the new home construction and design.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably more so. As long as the client has a good vision of what they want.
Yeah.
They just say, I want a 3-bedroom house. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And otherwise, it's nice when the client knows what they want, you have a path to take to get there.
Yeah, I've talked to several architects and feel like the majority I've talked to kind of lean towards the renovation because they feel like they like the kind of unofficial start. Like there's already certain decisions that have been made.
True.
That sort of simplify.
Yeah.
Like they can focus in on what they're going to bring instead of kind of herding the chickens in. From that new construction standpoint, where the world's your oyster. So what about like that empty lot, clean slate? Do you like?
The great thing about that is, like I said, I'm generally working with general contractors. So we'll have the general contractor will set up the meeting with the client, myself, and the general contractor. And we'll have that meeting with the client, and the client will have a vision. But having the general contractor right there, who's very budget conscious, and like, no, you don't want to do that. Yes, you do. They really help direct me in a path into developing the plan. So it is kind of like some really key. Directional arrows are set up in that discussion, which is very helpful. I have one client right now who basically just gave me a program and it's a couple images, and it's very challenging to develop the plan. And he says, I haven't even bought property. I just want a house plan. I was like, well, the site's really going to dictate, so we'll do a rough layout on a floor plan and some idea about elevations, but really until you have a site, I can't really do anything. Or we shouldn't do anything.
Because you have no idea how that's going to play with the land or anything at all. So when you think of from my real estate background and investment background, how are you constantly balancing out in your development? You talked about the stone wall possibly being 3 times as much as a concrete wall, but for like values, you want to go with the stone wall. How are you continuing to balance that out as you look at costing, price, and like what you can sell the land for, and what's your return on investment?
That's the challenge. Right. Putting a price on the lots. Because that's predicated about what you put into the land to develop it. So when you start doing these amenities with stone walls versus ready rock stack, it drives the land cost up inevitably. To do these nice things, you make it more expensive, and you make it more unachievable for people with lower incomes, which is not what I want. I want a diverse community because there's a lot of people, whatever their income might be, are serving a very valuable need for the community as a whole. There's a huge need for people that are working in restaurants. And it'd be great that those people working in restaurants are people that can live there as well. I don't want to price people out, but that's the challenge of this, because when you start putting in nice sidewalks with brick pavers, it just makes everything a lot more expensive. But, you know, so it's a catch-22, right? If you want a good community, it's going to cost you. And it's going to hurt the community as a whole to have diversity.
Right. Yeah, no, I can only imagine, because I feel like in my experience, it's always just single-family homes, but it's the same conversation. You know, I mean, like, you know, if there are no limits, you can do whatever you want. But for most people, they have a very specific budget that they need to mesh with reality. And I can only imagine that 100-fold in a community setting. And in that is the answer density, is like that the...
Well, densities in different housing types, not just single family, because that's high-end, expensive. You know, having the opportunities for an apartment or a condo. That really offsets some people who are getting out of high school and they're getting their first job. They have a place where they can live, right? And that becomes a starting point. And then getting like the Muse is a good like first home purchase kind of thing, you know, something that's in that price range where people could afford it in their 20s. Or whatever. But that's a challenge. Like single family or home ownership these days almost unachievable. You know? It's just crazy how expensive things have become.
No, absolutely. I mean, we bought our home not even, was it maybe 8 years ago? But I mean, I look at the starter homes on today's market, and I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't have got in at these prices. It would take me forever to get there.
And like I look at like, well, would I like to move to a different location? Well, maybe I would like to move to but I don't want to forfeit my mortgage. You know. 3%'s pretty daggone good, and my monthly payments are awesome.
You're not going to see that again.
No, I'm just going to sit tight, and I'm not going to move.
Don't move.
I'm going to stay right here and just be satisfied with what I have.
Will your current home be affected by your development, or is it not on the same?
It's not far away, but no.
It's not going to be. There wouldn't be a point where for some phase you would have to.
No.
I won't tell anybody. It won't be a public knowledge where you're at.
on your door.
So, how did you guys? You told me how you kind of like developed your architects guild. How did you guys go about like the builder process? Like how did you?
The Builders Guild. We didn't do anything. They came to us. And it's just like during the process, as we're doing the engineering, builders came and said, "Hey, if you're having a build, I'd like to be part of that." So we just started talking to them. My brother developed an application process for them, so they had to meet these different milestones of how many houses do they do a year. Are you able financially to purchase 3 lots at a time and start building on them? You know, those different things to vet them out to make sure that they would work. So you know, they came to us. We did the interviews and found 15 that would like, and then people that are coming still. It's like, okay, we've got you on the contact list. We know that these 15, some of them might decide that this doesn't work for them and we'll back out or not retire or whatever. When we'll need another builder, we'll contact you. Or we may need more than 15. It's going too fast and we got to keep up with demand. So we'll have to add more builders in. So
well, it's super exciting to hear the amount of like energy you guys have. Just feels like soft launched. I don't know how you guys' perspective on it is, but it seems like you have a lot of energy before you've even really gone super public with everything.
It's been. That's one reason why we haven't done a ribbon cutting or anything like that, or what was it, the shovel? Breaking the ground, right? Whatever it is. We haven't done anything because we don't want the calls yet. Our sales office isn't up yet. You know, we don't have any answers. But you know, I have about 170 people on a contact list that's been getting in touch with us for the past 2 years with interest on living there. So when our sales office is up, they're going to be contacting all these people.
Is there any kind of open day ETA for either the hospital or the Oldham Arts Center, or no dates on the calendar for those yet?
No dates on those. Hopefully, I mean the Arts Center. Hopefully in the next couple of years. I'm not so certain on that schedule. The hospital, I'm not so certain about that either. I think the big beautiful bill screwed up the hospital a little bit with the whole Medicaid and Medicare. They have to retool and rethink about how they're doing things. And so that might have delayed the hospital construction a little bit. So I'm not certain when that.
Yeah. There's no telling in those boardrooms what
right,
conversations are going on there.
Right.
So, is there a problem that you're trying to solve right now that you haven't found a solution for, that you're still kind of like looking for the right connection? It seems like you guys have some incredible connections with architects and DPZ and this sort of thing. Is there something that, like, if you met somebody, there would be a particular kind of person you would love to meet tomorrow?
Well, I think one of our weaknesses in that we're learning on the fly is commercial properties. Having somebody on our team that was a commercial broker might be helpful. I don't know if it's helpful at this point or not, but at some point we're going to need, we're drawing a ton of attention from professionals looking for space, right? For like doctors and lawyers and insurance companies and banks and those types of things. But at some point we're going to need to get involved with somebody who can bring in restaurants and retail. And so, because that's what's going to be on our main street. Yeah. Doctors and office oriented are going to be off Main Street. Okay. We want the retail and the restaurant on Main Street. And I think at this point, we're going to have, I don't know how we're going to start getting those in there. It's still a little bit of a question mark down the road. I know one thing, we actually need buildings first, potentially, to get the people to see what the space is or be working on a building. So
do you already have the shelves planned?
We have one commercial building in the drawings, but it's just a lot of edits that we need to do to it. Yeah. It's so expensive to build. You got to make sure that if you do it, we can get the return out of it. Right. So we're vetting it out. It's a 3.5 story building. So we're either the first floor is commercial. Clearly, we'll have our sales office in there, and the other floors where we're looking at it. Do we want to condo it, or do we want to apartment it, or do we want to do a blend? Like the fourth floor, do we do Airbnb, and the other 2 floors are like, how do we want to do this, and how does it financially make sense? So it's that's one thing we're kind of learning. It's like multifamily income producing properties aren't really. We have no experience really. Not good experience. So, having somebody on the team that had more knowledge about those facets in commercial would be helpful.
Do you feel like your need for them won't be super pronounced until kind of the residential side starts to kind of like give you the freedom to then put down some big money on commercial?
Possibly. It's like right now it's one step at a time. And really it's about getting this started. There's a lot of question marks out there, but we're handling what we can handle at the moment without getting too spread out, thinking about other things that aren't critical. Right. But those things, the town center, commercial-wise, will develop a lot more slowly than all the residential developing around it. That makes total sense. So as you were talking, I was thinking there's the phrase, I've seen a lot of different people say it. I don't know who said it first, but they said, like, most people start out to start a business or start a project to do something, but what really happens is what it does to them, like the kind of person they become. So I wonder if you look back in your growth, it's fascinating to me to hear all the ways that your growth was directly tied to where you're at today. That really seems like it gives you that foundation, your family, the different contributions everybody's able to make, your wife with the landscape design in the park, thinking like that. So what do you feel like if you looked from the transformation from the guy you were graduating Harvard to now, what is something that you've learned that you think is really important to who you become and kind of the man you want to be as you look forward? Well, I think one of the things I've discovered is my passion for the community development side of things. That's one thing I've discovered. And one thing I look at this project from stepping back and away is just like, there's a lot going on. And it's like, my gosh, compared to other projects that I've been involved in, it's been a lot more easy than this. And I think this phase of the total development is the busiest because you're developing all the rules and the systems and everything, establishing that. I think 10 years from now, things will be a lot more smooth. And maybe a little bit more laid back. And kind of works itself out.
Get that lake house.
Right.
You can drive out to.
Yeah, exactly.
So with this many irons in the fire, you've got architects all over the nation on your call to call. You got the mayor you're meeting with, and you got your individual clients. What's an ideal client to call you tomorrow? So like, what would be like meet a need for you right now? what kind of project or what kind of
Oh,
person?
so it's
For you as a person,
architecture project? Oh, I don't know. Maybe don't call me. This is the worst time. I don't know what it is about this type of year. I get slammed.
Really?
Yeah. And then I go on spring break and I come back. And when I get back from spring break, I'm months delayed on everything.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling. By the time end of July hits, that's when I'm finally getting caught up.
Yeah.
And right now, it's crazy.
Slammed. Yeah. So don't call you yet.
Yeah, don't call me right now.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, maybe that's what I want is, But so far as projects, it's nice working on a project when you're not stressed out thinking about all the other projects that you need to complete.
Right.
You're not just trying to get through it to finish it.
Yeah.
And it's nice having interesting clients that are looking for something new and different.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot more fun.
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah, it's kind of, I'm looking for that, although I'm just trying to get stuff done.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, how far booked out are you from taking on any new projects?
I probably a month or two right now, and it's usually not the case. In fact, last fall I told I was turning projects away, and I'm probably going to start doing that again.
Yeah.
It's just because I need to keep myself available for the development.
Yeah.
So
where's the best place for people to contact you if they want to employ your services directly for their home? Where should they reach out to do that?
They can contact me directly or email me. I don't have any website or anything like that. I can just contacting me by email.
Direct contact.
Or contacting a general contractor that I work with.
Yeah.
Clients talking to the contractor, I think, is the most helpful in understanding their budget and what they can actually do.
Yeah.
Like I can design for you, but I'm not very good with knowing exactly how much it's going to cost. And we'll get off on a tangent doing something really nice that you cannot afford.
It will not be good.
Right.
Yeah.
So having the contractor involved is really good with that. We're rearing everything back a little bit.
Yeah. And then as far as if people are trying to follow the development, keeping up with news release and that stuff, what's the best place for them?
Facebook and Instagram. We're posting weekly on there.
Okay.
We have a website, clorestation.com, where we've got information about the project itself. But social media, we are trying to do a pretty good job of keeping everything, kind of the history of the property and the project, what we're trying to do as far as design, and keep them informed of where we are in construction. So, that's the best way to keep up with it.
Follow that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, this has been an absolute blast.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for inviting me.